Hello brothers, and welcome to Sigma Old Man channel. Some people don't enter your life. They shift the entire frequency of the room without saying a word. It's strange, isn't it? How one man's calm can make a crowd restless, how his silence can trigger explanations no one asked for. Psychology calls it status incongruence. When someone holds power without displaying it, it unnerves the entire social order. That's the Sigma male effect. You can't quite explain why he feels different. Maybe it's his unbothered rhythm, his untraceable focus, or that look that makes people start confessing childhood traumas like he's a walking truth detector. Even humor gets awkward around him. The class clown suddenly feels like he's performing in front of an ancient judge. The moment people realize he's not just another man, but the one reality bends a little for, everything changes. They start acting differently, watching their words, adjusting their tone, and pretending they're not trying to impress him while absolutely trying to. Today, we're diving into 12 things people do when they recognize the Sigma male is the chosen one, not the fairy tale version, but the raw psychological aftermath of what happens when presence itself becomes dominance. Number 1, they perform their confidence around him. When people sense that the Sigma male is the chosen one, their behavior starts to glitch. They don't become authentic. They become performative. You'll notice it in the way they suddenly laugh louder, speak faster, or try to dominate every conversation. It's not real confidence. It's insecurity wearing confidence like a costume. They feel subconsciously measured in his presence, even though he hasn't said or done anything to judge them. His calm energy operates like a silent mirror. It reflects who they truly are beneath all their noise. People start performing confidence because they're uncomfortable with how effortlessly self-assured he is. He doesn't need validation, doesn't compete, and doesn't posture, and that unsettles them. They try to fill the space he leaves quiet with proof that they're on his level. They throw around opinions they don't believe in, brag about plans they haven't started, and fake composure they can't sustain. The Sigma doesn't challenge them directly. He simply exists, and that's enough to trigger a psychological need to prove something. It's almost funny. Their confidence isn't directed at him, it's performed for him. It's a subconscious attempt to be acknowledged by someone who doesn't hand out approval. The Sigma becomes an unspoken judge in their minds, even though he's not judging at all. They mistake his emotional neutrality for quiet superiority, so they scramble to match it. What they don't realize is that the Sigma sees right through the act. He notices the exaggerated tone, the forced charisma, the sudden bravado. He reads the tremors behind the laughter, and instead of reacting, he lets the performance collapse under its own weight. Eventually, they burn out from pretending. That's the irony. In trying to prove they're as confident as he is, they only expose how much they aren't. The Sigma never tries to outshine anyone, yet his authenticity turns pretenders into actors and actors into ghosts. His quiet presence doesn't demand validation. It quietly dismantles those who depend on it. Number 2, they become strangely careful with their words. When people realize they're dealing with a Sigma male, their speech starts to shift in a way they can't explain. Suddenly they become hyper-aware of their own words. The tone, the phrasing, even the pauses. It's not respect that drives this caution. It's quiet fear. They sense that he listens differently. He doesn't just hear, he analyzes. Every word they say passes through his invisible filter of logic and authenticity, and they know it. One misplaced exaggeration or fake compliment could expose them completely. Most people are used to getting away with casual lies, harmless flexes, or emotional manipulation. But with the Sigma, Those social tricks collapse fast. He spots inconsistencies in stories, double meanings in flattery, and weakness hiding behind bravado. He doesn't call it out. That's what makes it worse. The silence after their words feels heavier than confrontation. It's like he's dissecting their intentions in real time, and they can feel it. So they start trimming their speech, avoiding anything that could sound fake or forced. Conversations become slower, more deliberate. They pick words like they're walking through a minefield. The Sigma doesn't intimidate through aggression, he does it through awareness. His mind operates like an X-ray, scanning for what's real beneath the noise. People sense that and instinctively begin guarding themselves. The effect is unsettling. Around others, they're loose, expressive, unfiltered. Around him, they start editing mid-sentence. Their jokes get softer. Their opinions become safer. They subconsciously adjust their vocabulary to sound more intelligent, more self-controlled, more balanced. It's a survival reflex. They're trying not to reveal too much of their inner chaos. What they don't realize is that the Sigma already knows. He reads the hesitation, the self-correction, the sudden politeness. He understands that their words are armor, and while they're busy filtering, he's not judging their grammar or ideas. He's reading their intent. In the end, people become careful with their words because they sense they're being seen, not superficially, but accurately. The Sigma doesn't strip them with insults or exposure. He strips them with perception. And once someone feels mentally naked, they never speak the same way around him again. Number 3, they try to decode his calm. When people notice how calm the Sigma male stays in situations that would break others, their curiosity turns into obsession. They can't just accept it. They need to explain it. They start whispering theories. Some say he's been through too much. Others think he's hiding something. His emotional control becomes a puzzle they can't stop trying to solve. To them, no one can be that composed without a secret reason. But the truth is, his calm isn't a mask. It's the byproduct of brutal self-awareness. He's mastered the art of detachment, not to escape emotion, but to control its direction. This confuses people because the Sigma doesn't react the way they expect. They're used to reading social cues, triggering reactions, and predicting behavior. But with him, the usual tactics fail. They insult him, and he doesn't flinch. They try to impress him, and he doesn't bite. They test his limits, and all they get is a steady gaze that feels both disarming and unreadable. It's unnerving, like facing someone who's already seen the outcome of the game before it starts. So they start decoding him, analyzing his posture, his tone, even his silence. They mistake stillness for superiority or trauma or emotional numbness. Some pity him, assuming he's shut down. Others envy him, assuming he's above it all. Both are wrong. His calm isn't the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. He's trained himself to process chaos internally, to respond strategically instead of impulsively. The irony is that the more they study him, the more unstable they become. They overthink every glance and pause, trying to interpret meaning where there's only composure. They can't stand that someone can possess power without displaying it. To them, calm must be cracked open, labeled, and explained, because if it can't be, it threatens their entire understanding of control. But the Sigma never offers an answer. He lets their curiosity eat at them, while he remains centered, untouched, and quietly dominant. His calm isn't a defense mechanism. It's a form of silent warfare. He doesn't fight emotions, he commands them. And that's why people keep trying and failing to decode him. Number 4, they subtly compete for his validation. When people recognize the Sigma male as the chosen one, something strange happens. They start competing for his validation without realizing it. It's not the loud, desperate kind of competition you see in social circles. It's subtle, psychological, and often disguised as self-improvement. They begin to act more composed, more intellectual, more disciplined, not because they suddenly evolved, but because his presence quietly challenges their self-image. He becomes an invisible standard they try to measure up to. What makes this so fascinating is that the Sigma never asks for any of it. He doesn't hand out approval, compliments, or recognition, and that's exactly why people crave it. His indifference creates a vacuum, and the human ego can't stand a vacuum. People start seeking small, silent signs that he respects them: a nod, a glance, a moment of acknowledgement. When they don't get it, they push harder, subtly reshaping themselves to appear more impressive. Men around him start emphasizing their achievements, talking about their goals, or pretending to have his level of detachment. Women might showcase their intelligence, emotional control, or self-worth, hoping to earn that rare look of interest from him. But the Sigma rarely plays into it. He doesn't feed the validation loop. He exposes it. By not responding, he reveals who's performing and who's real. The irony is that people mistake his lack of reaction for judgment. They think he's silently evaluating them, when in reality, he isn't even watching. His mind is elsewhere, focused on his goals, his principles, his internal compass. Yet somehow, that absence of attention becomes the very thing people fight for. It's a psychological paradox. The more the Sigma ignores validation games, the more others crave his validation. They sense that his respect can't be bought with charm or pretense. It must be earned. And that's what drives people mad. They start competing not to win something from him, but to feel seen by someone who doesn't play the same social game. In the end, the Sigma male's power isn't in withholding validation. It's in being immune to needing any. And in a world addicted to approval, that makes him the rarest and most magnetic force in the room. Number 5, they experience quiet envy, not loud hate. When people come across a Sigma male, the emotion he triggers isn't loud or dramatic. It's quiet, heavy, and deeply personal. They don't hate him. They envy him in a way that feels uncomfortable to admit. It's not about money, looks, or status. It's something harder to define: his emotional independence. He moves through life without depending on validation, approval, or constant connection, and that makes people uneasy. His self-sufficiency exposes how emotionally indebted they are to others. Most people need an audience, someone to reassure them, agree with them, or simply remind them they matter. But the Sigma doesn't need any of that. He builds his world from the inside out, not the other way around. And when people see that, it quietly challenges their sense of identity. It's like holding up a mirror to all the compromises they've made just to belong. They realize how much of their confidence is borrowed, how much of their peace depends on someone else's reaction. That awareness stings, and that sting is what becomes quiet envy. It's not the type of envy that drives gossip or open hostility. It's more subtle, the kind that hides behind compliments like, "You're so lucky you don't care what people think," or in half-joking remarks like, "You're too detached, man, you should loosen up." It's admiration, wrapped in discomfort. Deep down, they wish they had that same level of control, that same immunity to external chaos. But envy of autonomy is hard to admit because it questions the foundation of most people's lives. To accept that someone can thrive without constant social fuel means admitting that they can't. So they quietly wrestle with the contrast. They start trying to adopt pieces of his independence, staying off their phone more, thinking before reacting, pulling back from drama. But it never feels as natural. The Sigma doesn't trigger envy through arrogance or superiority. He triggers it through freedom. His life proves that peace is possible without permission. And once people see that, they can't unsee it. They might never say it out loud, but deep inside they know what he has isn't luck, it's mastery. And that's the kind of envy that never fades. Number 6, they mirror his rhythm without noticing. When people spend enough time around a Sigma male, something subtle yet undeniable begins to happen. They start syncing with his rhythm. It's not a conscious effort, it's an energetic adjustment. His pace, his tone, his entire presence carries a different frequency, slow, grounded, intentional, and it quietly rewires the people around him. The ones who were once frantic start to speak slower, the loud ones lower their voices. The impulsive ones begin to think before they react. Without realizing it, they're mirroring him. The Sigma doesn't demand this change, and he never asks anyone to adapt. His energy simply imposes balance. Because he doesn't rush, others feel silly rushing. Because he listens before speaking, others start to weigh their words. His control over his own tempo highlights how out of control everyone else has been. His calm becomes the dominant emotional current in the room, and people follow it the way dust follows gravity. The effect is especially strong in high-energy or chaotic environments. The Sigma walks in, and tension quietly dissolves. It's not charisma, it's coherence. People sense that his energy is clean, free of ego and pretense, and they unconsciously adjust to match it. It's human nature. We calibrate ourselves to emotional authority, and the Sigma's authority doesn't come from force, but from stillness. What makes this even more fascinating is that he's often unaware it's happening. He's not trying to lead or influence. He's simply aligned with his own rhythm. But because most people are reactive and overstimulated, his steadiness becomes a silent teacher. He demonstrates by existing that composure is power. Eventually, people begin to notice the shift in themselves. They feel calmer around him, more deliberate, more focused. They may even mistake it for attraction or respect, but it's something deeper. It's resonance. They've unconsciously tuned themselves to someone who refuses to be rushed by the world. That's the quiet magic of the Sigma male. He doesn't dominate people. He stabilizes them. His rhythm is contagious, not because he imposes it, but because it feels like home in a world that's forgotten how to breathe. Number 7, they misinterpret his focus as superiority. When the Sigma male locks into his purpose, the world around him fades. He's not distracted, not half-present, not pretending to multitask. He's all in. That kind of focus is rare, and people don't know how to read it. They mistake his tunnel vision for arrogance, as if his silence or lack of engagement means he believes he's above them. But it's not superiority, it's precision. His attention is a weapon he doesn't waste on anything that doesn't feed his mission. In a world addicted to attention, that kind of discipline feels personal. People are used to being constantly noticed, liked, and acknowledged. So when the Sigma doesn't participate in that game, doesn't flatter, doesn't respond to small talk, doesn't react to social cues, it unsettles them. They assume he's judging or ignoring them, when in reality, he's simply tuned out of noise. His mind operates on purpose, not approval. This misunderstanding creates tension. Some people will try to challenge him, to bring him down to earth, throwing subtle jabs like, "You think you're better than everyone, huh?" Others will try to distract him, craving a reaction just to prove they still have influence over him. But none of it works, because he's not competing, he's creating. His focus is locked on what matters, and their emotional projections can't break through that clarity. What's really happening is projection. People mistake his dedication for judgment, because deep down they're insecure about their own lack of direction. His commitment to his path exposes their detours, their procrastination, their dependency on validation. Instead of admitting that, they label him cold or arrogant to make themselves feel better. But the Sigma isn't being dismissive. He's being devoted. His silence during small talk isn't rejection. It's prioritization. His detachment during gossip isn't pride. It's efficiency. He knows every moment of focus invested in nonsense is stolen from his evolution. Ironically, the same people who accuse him of arrogance often end up admiring his results later. They eventually realize that what looked like superiority was simply discipline disguised as distance. The Sigma never looked down on anyone. He just refused to look away from what mattered. Number 8, they feel exposed in his presence. When people come face to face with a Sigma male, they often feel strangely uneasy, like they're being seen more deeply than they're used to. It's not about him being psychic or mysterious, it's his perception. He doesn't just listen to words, he observes patterns, tone, timing, micro-expressions, contradictions. While others hear stories, he detects motives. And that quiet ability makes people feel exposed in a way that's hard to describe. He notices the subtle things most overlook, the fake enthusiasm in a compliment, the flicker of envy behind a smile, the insecurity buried inside overconfidence. He connects dots people didn't even realize they were leaving behind. And he does it silently. There's no confrontation, no dramatic reaction, just a calm awareness that unsettles anyone who isn't used to being truly seen. People often sense it instinctively. Their body language changes around him. They straighten up, adjust their tone, choose words more carefully. It's a subconscious defense. They know something in him is watching beyond the surface. They might even start feeling nervous for no clear reason. That's because his gaze doesn't flatter or judge. It understands, and being understood without effort feels dangerously close to being unmasked. This ability isn't manipulation. It's emotional intelligence sharpened by solitude. The Sigma has spent so much time analyzing his own behavior, thoughts and flaws, that he's become fluent in human contradiction. He can tell when someone's trying to impress, when they're hiding weakness behind charm, or when their humor is really insecurity in disguise. His mind processes people like a chessboard, seeing not just the move, but the intent behind it. What makes it even more disarming is that he doesn't use what he sees against anyone. He simply knows. That quiet knowing carries power because it removes the illusions people depend on. Around him, fakery feels heavy, small talk feels useless, and masks start slipping whether they want them to or not. The Sigma's perception doesn't expose people to humiliate them, it exposes them to truth, and truth in his presence has nowhere left to hide. That's why being around him can feel both magnetic and terrifying at the same time. He doesn't strip you with words, he does it with awareness. Number 9, they start copying his energy, poorly. When people come across a Sigma male, they often start copying his energy, but it never lands right. They notice how effortlessly he commands presence without trying, how he moves through chaos without losing center, and they think, I can do that too. But what they end up creating is a watered-down version of what they think power looks like, not what it actually is. It's confidence without grounding, calmness without clarity, like someone trying to play chess without understanding the rules. The Sigma's energy can't be replicated because it's not a performance. It's the natural outcome of deep self-awareness, solitude, and an internal hierarchy where external validation holds no rank. People see his quiet composure and assume it's about acting detached or emotionless. So they mimic the silence, the slow movements, the minimalist attitude, thinking that's what makes him powerful. But while they're acting, he's being. His calm comes from control, theirs from pretense. His silence is strategic, theirs is forced. And that's where the imitation always collapses. because no matter how well someone copies the look, they can't fake the essence. The Sigma's presence is built on a lifetime of observation, self-discipline, and choosing solitude over noise. His stillness carries the weight of someone who's faced himself. When others try to replicate that without doing the inner work, it shows, like a mask that doesn't quite fit the face. Ironically, the more they try to be like him, the further they drift from authenticity, the very thing that gives him power. They mistake his independence for rebellion, his detachment for coldness, his quiet for mystery. But these aren't tactics. They're side effects of someone who's no longer enslaved by the need to perform. So when they start copying his tone, his composure, even his posture, it's almost poetic, a living reminder that imitation is the highest form of confusion, not flattery. The Sigma doesn't need to protect his aura. Their imitation protects him by exposing who's real and who's rehearsing. Because in a world full of performers, the one who isn't pretending will always stand out, no matter how many try to copy his script. Number 10, they project themselves onto him. When people encounter a Sigma male, they can't help but project themselves onto him. His mystery becomes a mirror, and in that reflection, they don't see him. They see their own insecurities, fantasies, and assumptions staring back. Because he reveals so little, their imagination fills in the blanks. To some, he's a hero, the quiet genius who gets it. To others, he's cold, arrogant, or dangerous. In truth, he's none of those things. He's just too real for people who are addicted to labels. Most people can't handle emotional ambiguity. They crave definition, something to categorize and control. But the Sigma operates in silence, and silence terrifies people who define themselves through reaction. When he doesn't reveal his motives, they invent them. A woman might see him as the deep, emotionally complex savior who will understand her chaos. A man might see him as the rival he must outperform. Both are projections of their own ego, one reaching for validation, the other guarding it. The Sigma doesn't feed or correct these illusions because he doesn't need to. He knows people see what they want to see. If they need a hero, they'll paint him as one. If they need an enemy, they'll twist his calm into condescension. He's aware that their perception says more about them than about him. That's why he stays detached, not because he's emotionless, but because he refuses to be trapped inside someone else's story. What unsettles people most is that he doesn't respond to their version of him. They'll test him, praise him, provoke him, anything to make him reveal whether he's the angel or the threat they've decided he is. But he doesn't play along. His neutrality destroys their narrative, leaving them face to face with their own projection. In the end, the Sigma male becomes a psychological screen. People project their fears, desires, and unresolved emotions onto him, and he quietly reflects it all back. Some end up admiring him, others resent him. Either way, he forces them to meet themselves. That's his unintentional power. By revealing nothing, he exposes everything. Number 11, they try to save him from his solitude. When people realize the Sigma male is the chosen one, something odd happens. They try to save him, not from danger or failure, but from his peace. They can't stand how comfortable he is being alone. To them, solitude is a symptom, not a choice. So they start offering unsolicited advice. You need to go out more. You're too quiet these days. Or the classic, you can't keep living like this. What they really mean is, your calm is making me uncomfortable. Most people are addicted to noise, constant social interaction, shallow validation, endless digital chatter. They use company to escape their thoughts. But the Sigma male thrives in the silence others run from. His solitude isn't isolation, it's maintenance. It's where he recharges, analyzes, and rebuilds himself. The world sees a loner. He sees a lab for his next evolution. That's why people feel the need to rescue him. They can't comprehend that someone can be perfectly fine without an audience. His quiet independence challenges their sense of normal. It exposes how dependent they are on others for meaning. They project their loneliness onto him, assuming he must be suffering just because they would be if they were in his shoes. The irony is that the more they try to save him, the more he pulls away. He's not rejecting them, he's protecting his equilibrium. The Sigma knows that peace is expensive in a world that profits from distraction. Every invitation, every "just come hang out," every forced attempt to bring him back into the crowd feels like a subtle attempt to tame what they don't understand. And when they finally realize he won't budge, they label him cold or antisocial. But he's neither. He just refuses to trade his clarity for company. He understands that solitude isn't emptiness. It's power without witnesses. People try to rescue the Sigma from being alone because deep down they envy that kind of freedom. They wish they could sit with their thoughts and not drown in them. What they call loneliness, he calls home. And that's exactly why he's different. Not because he avoids the world, but because he no longer needs it to feel whole. Number 12, they eventually submit to his influence. When people finally recognize the Sigma male is the chosen one, something deep inside them shifts. At first, they resist his influence. They tell themselves he's overrated, too serious, too detached. They label him as different just to create distance from what they can't define. But over time, resistance turns into quiet submission. It's not forced, it's magnetic. The Sigma doesn't demand followers. His presence rewires how people think and behave without a single word of persuasion. It starts subtly. People begin adopting his calm when things go wrong. They mirror his tone, slow down their reactions, and rethink their words. They start valuing privacy, purpose, and independence, things they once mocked him for. The Sigma doesn't preach, he embodies, and that's what makes his influence so powerful. He changes people not by control, but by contrast. When others see how grounded he is in a world built on noise, their chaos starts to feel unnecessary. Even those who once doubted him start to come around. They start seeking his opinion, trying to understand how he stays so composed while everyone else is chasing validation. His way of living becomes a quiet form of authority. People naturally begin to orbit his energy, not because he's loud, but because he's consistent. His stability exposes how easily others bend. Over time, they stop challenging his choices. They start trusting his instincts. Some even reshape their lives around the principles they saw in him: simplicity, detachment, precision. He becomes the standard they subconsciously measure themselves against, not out of worship, but because his way works. It brings results without theatrics, peace without withdrawal, and strength without aggression. What makes this submission powerful is that it's never asked for. The Sigma never seeks to lead. He doesn't recruit, he attracts. People surrender to his influence because his authenticity leaves no room for illusion. Around him, fakery feels exhausting, ego feels outdated, and noise feels meaningless. In the end, people don't follow the Sigma because they have to. They follow because they want to feel that kind of quiet control within themselves. His influence is not domination, it's evolution. And that's what makes him truly chosen. In the end, the Sigma male doesn't try to stand out. The world just can't help but notice him. His presence disturbs comfort zones, exposes illusions, and silently rewires the behavior of everyone around him. People gossip, imitate, decode, compete, and project, all because his energy doesn't bend to theirs. He's not seeking followers or validation. He's too focused on mastery. Yet somehow, his very existence becomes a quiet revolution against the superficial chaos of the modern world. What makes the Sigma male truly the chosen one isn't mystery or detachment. It's the fact that he lives in alignment with himself in a society that rewards conformity. He doesn't fight for dominance, but he dominates naturally because authenticity has become a rare form of power. Where others perform, he observes. Where others react, he analyzes. Where others chase attention, he builds direction. And it's this quiet precision, this unapologetic self-governance, that makes people simultaneously drawn to him and unsettled by him. His calm isn't passivity, it's control. His silence isn't distance, it's focus. His solitude isn't loneliness, it's self-sufficiency. Everything about him contradicts the patterns people have been programmed to follow, and that's why he stands out without ever trying to. People sense something divine in that independence, something that feels both unreachable and deeply human. The Sigma male is not here to be understood by everyone. He's here to remind a few that true strength doesn't shout. It resonates. And those who recognize that vibration will either evolve from it or envy it. But either way, his presence changes them. If you've made it this far, it means you see through the noise too. You recognize the rare energy of those who move differently, think independently, and live intentionally. So don't just watch from the sidelines. Join the journey. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with those who need to understand what true presence looks like. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Because every mind that awakens from illusion strengthens the kind of power the world rarely talks about, but secretly fears.